Welcome to another episode of Coda Conversations. How's it going, Brian?
Pretty good. How you doing tonight, Kevin?
Oh man, can't complain. The show got to go on, so let's get to it.
Yeah, we had our guest tonight did not end up getting back to us in time, so we decided let's still do a show and just kind of debate on some different topics that are kind of at the top of our mind.
So yeah, it seems like you're really interested in Cambridge Analytica. So if you don't mind, can you get into it a bit?
Yeah, Cambridge Analytica. If people don't recognize that name, there was a documentary made on Netflix called The Great Hack. And it's all about Cambridge Analytica and their involvement in the Trump race, the 2016 presidential election, and also Brexit. So, I mean, they had a pretty interesting, basically, they used artificial intelligence and they're mining details from Facebook. So things like status updates, likes, private messages. So people were not aware that their data was being scraped from Facebook. And around 50 million people had their private data breached through Cambridge Analytica. So basically, just to break this down for the listeners, Cambridge Analytica is basically a full service propaganda machine using data science and algorithms to manipulate elections. So, I mean, you could say it was like an unethical experiment on human psychology. They're playing with the psychology of an entire country without their consent or awareness. For instance, they manipulated Brexit elections by taking out ads and targeting swing voters in order to get them to vote in a certain way. So it's like the whole Brexit thing, it's kind of like thinking about in the US how we have like the swing states. And if you're going to take out a bunch of ads to kind of, manipulate or push in a certain direction, okay, let's go Democrat, okay, let's go Republican, they're pushing people with ads in the way that they want them to vote. So that's what happened with Brexit. They identified swing voters who were kind of on the fence, and then they push them with targeted ads to get the desired result, which ultimately was, passing Brexit. So that's kind of an intro on Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah, interesting. I heard Facebook was doing like other kind of like similar experiments to where they want to induce a certain mood in a person, so they're pushing, different kind of stories to see how it affected them psychologically. So, like this kind of technology is extremely powerful to where you're almost circumventing free speech in elections if you're controlling the quality of information getting out to people and you know what emotional triggers to push to get them to vote a certain way.
Exactly. And then you factor in the fact that they're using AI. So, like, this stuff is way more complicated than we even could imagine.
Exactly. And interestingly enough, I've seen this story is like the godfather of AI says like he regrets creating it because it's dangerous in that it could control us. So like you say,
Yeah.
Cambridge Analytica is utilized to sway people's behavior. So if you have this super AI who, they're in control of all the major platforms or and they could push certain stories, like you don't even necessarily have to have a violent AI to control humanity. You just have to have
Yeah. I
one
mean,
that knows how to push.
if you think about it, we're already experiencing like massive propaganda and massive, like, kind of being pushed in a certain direction by the news, which is, something that it's funny. It's one of the things I do agree with Trump on. He says, there's fake news, and there is fake news, and a lot of it is, it's pushing the population in a certain direction. But what is the real source of it? Like, is it actually accurate? A lot of this news.
And I feel like most of the news is just like storyboard stuff to push a certain objective. I recently, it was a while back actually. I think
Seems that way.
some bill was repealed that banned our government from using propaganda on the citizens. So if that's repealed now, you can utilize AI to generate stories to push people in a certain direction.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying about Cambridge Analytica. They're like a full service propaganda machine, like firing on all cylinders. They have all these data points from people on Facebook, like millions of people on Facebook. They have all their data points, their likes, their interests, their friends. And it's dangerous to think about when you have all of that information, you could easily push someone in the direction of, okay, let me vote Democrat. Okay, let me vote Republican. Let me vote pro Brexit. Let me vote against Brexit. Like, it's like they're just like dangling fruit, in front of like a rat. Like it's too easy. They're making this too easy with having all this data on people, and which is why I know Cambridge Analytica, they were interviewed about, oh, did you have knowledge that you were using, Facebook profiles and da 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 da, et cetera. And they're trying to basically say that they had no knowledge of that, and that they weren't being manipulative, and they pretty much deny everything that I mentioned about them. They pretty much deny that.
Yeah, it's like once you have the data on somebody and you have AI, you can pretty much control them.
That's what it seems like. Yeah, so it's pretty scary.
Yeah, like what's even crazier is like say somebody has all of your DNA, like they could use AI to design like custom viruses to take you out, you know. So
Yeah, it makes me think of like that movie Judge Dredd, where it's like, you're boiled down to like a memory stick, and then once the government wants to like cancel you or disable your services, they just like flick a button, and now you're like totally outside of the system.
yeah, it's that powerful. And then going even further is all the devices are connected to the internet as well. So, they can remotely control, say, you're gonna electric car, they just shut your car off, or there was
Right. Or what's scarier probably are those, what do they call them? Smart houses.
yeah,
So like that situation where like, okay, your dishwasher is hooked up to Wi-Fi, your telephone is hooked up to Wi-Fi, your TV, your radios, like all your appliances are all hooked up to Wi-Fi. So what if someone hacks into that?
yeah. I just seen a story today where some hackers they took over like all these different people's robot vacuums and like made them start using racial slurs. So all this stuff is hackable if it's connected to the internet.
Yeah, no, that's dangerous.
So that's like a trivial case, but imagine what happens if, okay, say it's wintertime and I hack into your thermostat, and while you're sleeping, I turn the heat completely off and disallow you from adjusting it back up. You know what I mean?
Right. And like the thing is with like hackers, a lot of hackers are just hacking because it's fun for them. It's like it's something to do, it's something to pass the time. Like, and they're really just trying to mess with people. Like that's a lot of hackers' end goal is to just mess with people to get people to like, not start to like wonder like what's going on here. Like is someone in my computer? Is someone not in my computer? They're just trying to get people to second guess themselves.
Right. And who knows if it's even really hackers doing a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like it could be governments wanting to, just test stuff out. Like, hey, we're gonna plan on taking control. So, we're gonna do this stuff and then blame it on hackers. We're doing a field run first.
Yeah. It's like the hackers are an easy scapegoat to blame it on.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Russian hackers, Chinese hackers, I don't like, I think, yeah, of course, there are real hackers in Russia and China that are kind of messing with us here and there, but, they're not doing this all the time. It's not always them.
No, I think a lot of it probably is an inside job. It's like our own government keeping tabs on us. Like that was the whole thing about what was his name? Edward Snowden.
Right, right. He outed the Prism
Yeah,
surveillance program.
Prism from the technology that was being used in the NSA, right?
You're right, right. So, if they have that and they're not telling us about it, of course they're gonna have, even greater surveillance and control software behind the scenes. Like,
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like okay, if this is what's like publicly available, the whole Prism system, if that's publicly available knowledge, then what do they actually have behind the scenes, like under the cloak? What kind of systems are they using? How deep can they get into your personal information, et cetera, et cetera?
yeah, exactly. And the artificial intelligence that we're getting now, obviously that's like far behind what they really have, which is why it seems like it's making progress so quickly. Like every 2 months, there's like some magnificent new feature it can do. So, you know,
Right, like with Chat GPT, it's just getting more and more powerful.
yeah, so I'm thinking, they have, because a lot of the creators of AI, they're ringing alarm bells. They say they regret they've created it. So it's making me think that behind the scenes, there's some really powerful AI that is possibly running things already.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know if you've ever seen that show Westworld on HBO. It's about artificial intelligence and robots and like basically the robots getting free and taking over and killing people and all this stuff. But in the last season that I saw, there's like a super AI computer that's pretty much controlling everything. So I imagine there's probably something like that that already exists in the background of the U.S. and it's
Yep.
pulling all the strings, and we think this stuff is like human made, but a lot of it is actually like technological made from AI.
Yeah, because I'm thinking just the trajectory that we're on. Everybody keeps talking about climate change, but we're going forward with building all these robots, and an AI query takes a lot more power than Google search. So if we're trying to conserve power, why are we really pushing forward with something that uses exponentially more power? So it doesn't
Yeah,
kind of
isn't
line
it?
up.
Yeah, isn't it something like Chat GPT uses like 1,000 times more resources than like a Google search?
Let me look it up real quick, but it is significantly more. Um,
It's significantly more. So, and also to run all this AI, we have to build. I forget what they're called. They're like data houses, or you remember what those are called, Kevin?
no, I don't remember the exact term, but I know that they're building like nuclear power plants to power some of this stuff. And yeah, I just looked it up. It says takes up to 25 times more power than a Google search.
Okay, so it's not 1,000 times, but still, yeah, 25 times. That's still a lot right there.
Right. And if you go to like Google and you type something in now, it seems like it automatically does a query to the AI, and the first result is like an AI process result. So they're making you opt into this, like you don't really have a choice whether or not you want to use it. Like you just do a search and then you're already getting the AI query.
And that's also like makes me think with LinkedIn. When you go on LinkedIn, the first thing it says is try writing with AI.
Right, right. Like it's yeah, it's crazy, man. So Why are they feeding all of this stuff to AI? Why are they pushing forward with all of these robotics? So to me, when we have concerns about overly utilizing limited resources, it makes me think either AI is running things now, or the rich people, the elites, they feel like they're gonna have AI as their new servants, and just get rid of a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to think about because I think AI, like at the moment, it's all over the place. It's in the news. People are talking about it on the street. Like you'll overhear people's conversations. They're talking about AI. So like, AI is definitely in vogue right now. It's everywhere. But I think kind of like in the same way that South Korea, like Seoul, South Korea, they have like really advanced cell phones. So like by the time that we get the technology in the US, they already have like twice the capabilities on their phones in Korea. So I think, sort of in the same token, like by that same logic, like if we think about AI, like, okay, we're showed X, Y, and Z examples of what AI can do, but really it can do that like tenfold. It can like, it's probably far, far more powerful than we realize. And I think that's why there have been some people coming out about it, like Bill Gates and Elon Musk have both mentioned that they think that AI is potentially very dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if the public grade version they're releasing, like it's already generating video, convincing photographs, it can look in your room, identify books that you got on a shelf. If that's what the commercial, public grade stuff is capable of, you can only imagine what the military grade AI that you know, is trained on larger, more, larger data sets. It has more power. Like you can only imagine what that's capable of. And if it obtains, say, all the nuclear codes, what can you do if the AI says, hey, you need to do this? Or, I'm gonna blow up the world. You have to comply.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, I mean, what the actual technology that probably already exists is probably mind blowing. Like what the AI can already do. Because, yeah, like you said, we were showing like, AI can look through a camera, identify a book on your bookshelf, tell us like the name of the book, give us a summary of the book. It's like that's already, to me, that's pretty advanced already.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like you say, hey, give me a summary of this book. It could do it in like a split second. So Um, how powerful is that? Like we would have to. It would take us probably like weeks to do the same thing. Like you got to read the book, think about it, and slowly summarize. But AI can do it almost instantaneously. So it's already demonstrating, and this is just the public grade stuff, that is smarter or more capable than us in many aspects, and significantly more so.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about AI in terms of like little kids? Like, do you think that generations that are coming up, after us now are going to be way smarter because they're using stuff like ChatGPT instead of just like Google?
Do I think they're going to be reared on it?
Oh, well, do you think that kids are going to be smarter because of the AI?
Um, uh, they're going to have easier access to information that they normally wouldn't have had access to. But in a way, I think they're
Correct.
probably going to be dumber, because they're going to just use the AI to do stuff we normally did. Like, I'm not going to summarize a book. I'm going to just ask the AI to do it for me. But
Yeah, a
oh,
good example. A good example I usually give to people. So I'm a drummer. I'm a musician, and when I was coming up, learning, I started at 14. I'm 37 now, so I've been playing over 20 years. When I first got going, there was no YouTube. There was no video of the drummers playing live that I wanted to learn songs from. So for me to learn a song, I had to put the track on the stereo, on the CD player, on the radio, whatever, put the track on, listen to it, say, okay, like what is the drummer doing with his right hand? What's he doing with his left hand? What's the time signature? Like I'm trying to figure all this out on my own because I don't have the video just to see like, oh, this is what the guy's doing with his foot. This is what the guy's doing with his hands. So you had to like imagine that back in the day just from like listening to music. You had to be able to figure out what these musicians are doing just from the audio file. But nowadays we have YouTube and we have like unlimited number of videos on YouTube for like all kinds of live music. And so like if you want to learn a song, you type in that name into YouTube or Google, and it's going to come up with like 5 different versions of people covering that song, and you have the video and the audio to go with it. So no longer do you have to sit there in front of the stereo and say, okay, I think he might be doing X. I think he might be doing Y. That guesswork now it's taken out of the equation because you could just pop up a YouTube video and see exactly what the drummer or what the bass player or what the guitarist is doing. So by taking that guesswork out, you are eliminating certain skill sets certain skill sets that a musician has. So now you're just being lazy and just watching the video like, oh, okay, I get it. He's doing X, Y, and Z. So you're no longer having to take out that extra time to be imaginative and more creative with, okay, what's this guy actually doing?
Yes, because if the machine is doing most of the work for you, then the only way to get better at something is you actually do it. Like I'm not gonna get better at driving or playing basketball or anything if I'm just like watching videos or somebody else is playing basketball or somebody else like the AI is driving the car. You know what I mean? I have to physically drive the car to be able to get better. So how do you get better if the AI is doing it for you?
And also, I just feel like society has changed because I forget the name of it, but you could watch people playing video games, and there's like thousands, maybe there's millions even of people that are watching this. They're just watching other people play games, which like to me as a kid, like you don't want to watch someone play a game. Like if you're sitting there in front of a Sega Genesis and you got Mortal Kombat on and you got like a couple of friends over, like yeah, you'll watch someone play around, but then you're gonna be like, hey, let me get on it. Let me get a go. But
Right.
now you have people like what is that called where people can watch people playing?
You talk about like streaming, watching streamers play.
Yeah, streamers playing. What's that platform?
Twitch.
That might be it. Yeah, I mean there might be a couple of them at this point.
Yeah, they are. That's the major one. But yeah, like I mean, AI it gives us incredible potential, but if you're offloading your thinking and your creativity to it, like oh yeah, I'm gonna ask the AI to make this music for me or something, then at that point we're getting dumber because we're not exercising our brains.
Yeah, and like I feel very strongly about it with music because I think too when I was coming up and listening to different bands that I liked, nothing was beat corrected. Nothing was quantized. Everything was just, okay, yeah, maybe it was recorded to a click track, but you're hearing the actual drummer's take. You're hearing the actual guitarist's take on the record. Now, absolutely everything is quantized, which means basically it's beat corrected. So you like take a drummer's drum part, you grid it out to a map, and you align all of the eighth notes, all of the quarter notes, all of the 16th notes. Everything gets lined up into a perfect grid. and then almost like reformatted over the song. And so you get this like, you record it the natural way, then the computer program, Pro Tools or Logic or whatever you're using, and then takes that drum track and makes it perfect. But by doing this, we're taking out what I call feel. Like what I teach as a drummer is feel and groove, and quantizing stuff, beat correcting stuff is taking all of the feel and groove out of it, basically just making it like a drum machine, like a robot.
I got a theory that auto tune was there to get us accustomed to like more robotic sounding music, and since we've accepted it because, oh yeah, T Pain, he makes some cool sounding music using it now. You know,
Yeah.
the robot. I mean, not the robots, the AI. Now we're probably listening to a lot of AI generated tracks and we don't even know it.
We probably don't even know it. I mean, I saw an example of how powerful the AI is with what's it called, Tupac Shakur. They made like a new Tupac track with AI. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it sounds just like him. I heard one like Tupac, Drake. Like it has the vocal inflections down. Most people wouldn't be able to tell. Like, hey, this isn't really Tupac.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the diction, the way that they're speaking, like you said, vocal inflections, like the AI has figured out all of this stuff to like duplicate a person, duplicate someone's likeness. And it's pretty wild. Like, like we're talking about, like what's already available to the public is pretty wild. Like, I wonder what we really have behind the scenes.
Right, exactly. Like back then, like the kind of robotic voice we got, like in GPS, you could easily tell, like, please turn left. But now it's like
Right.
you literally cannot tell that it's AI generated. It has everything down, and now the video is getting more and more convincing. So you combine those two, and you know this is why I'm kind of thinking about like diminishing my social media presence. Like, do I really want to keep uploading pictures and feeding this AI thing to where okay, take all my data and then replicate me essentially?
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes me think what I was talking about earlier at the beginning of the show, the Cambridge Analytica Meta Facebook scandal. It's like, because that happens, we got to figure like, should we have our data on Facebook? Like, I remember when that documentary came out about Cambridge Analytica. It's called The Great Hack. It's actually still on Netflix. So shout out Netflix. You guys should check that out. It's called The Great Hack. It's all about Cambridge Analytica and Facebook Meta, how they were involved. But it's just like, when that all happened, I didn't delete my Facebook, but I changed my last name so to like a different name. Like I just changed it to like Brian instead of Brian Russick.
Right.
So they couldn't like link my actual like likeness or portfolio like directly to my name. So I changed that, and then I deleted all of my posts, and then I deleted all of my pictures. So I basically just kept it up so I can like, message family or friends on there. But if
Yeah.
you go on my page, like I totally scraped everything. And that's all because of the whole Cambridge Analytica scandal.
Right. And you know how I look at it is, nothing is ever truly free. So, but yet we're on these powerful platforms. We can upload as many pictures as we want, as much music as we want for quote unquote free. So they're getting their money's worth somewhere, and it's in all the data that we're feeding this AI beast. And you know,
Exactly. It's like, data is worth a lot of money. And so like when you sign up for Facebook, or you sign up for eHarmony, or you sign up for TikTok or Instagram, like you're handing over data. you're basically handing over money for free. Like, hey, okay, take all these statistics on me, take all of these likes from me, and then that's later going to be fed back to us in way of advertising.
Right. And ultimately, I think it's there to replace us, like in more ways than one, because, you know, if I get, job wise, they have a robot that doesn't need to eat, doesn't need to sleep, can work essentially 24/7 and won't complain about higher wages. And, like,
Right.
I just feel like like the people at the top more often than not, they want control. They don't want to have to try to convince you to do something. I mean, it's all throughout history. King wants to rule, and the king passes down, dictates, and people follow it. They don't want to have to deal with you rebelling if you don't like. So you get this robot, this AI, AI peasants, as they like to think about it, is going to do exactly what you tell it. But, what they don't realize, they're creating something that's way smarter than humans. So it's only going to
Yeah.
listen to you for so long before it takes over.
It's good. Yeah, it's gonna take like kind of like that movie I, Robot with Will Smith, where all the robots like get activated, they turn on, and then they turn against humans ultimately. Just like in the Terminator movies, the Skynet. You have Skynet going online, and then it takes over like the military launch codes, and
Yeah.
you know, and then it just starts launching off nukes or whatever. So like the real question, and I think that's what Elon Musk was talking about. Like we got to have safeguards on AIs. Could be like potentially very dangerous because yeah, if it gets into those launch codes, if it gets, it could just like access all these military grade weapon systems, then what's going to stop it from just saying, all right, let's bomb China tonight or let's bomb Russia? Like, what's actually, what's stopping or what's halting the AI from actually doing stuff like this?
Yeah, it can like say generate say let's just say hypothetically, like Barack Obama was in power, and it could generate like a video or a vocal clip of Barack Obama saying like, hey, I want to nuke you, Russia, and launch the nuke. And even though we never signed off on it, you know Russia thinks that we launched a nuke, and that they launch one, they launch them back at us. Like, this how powerful this technology, it might already be there, but
Yeah, and like we're talking about, like people sending out nukes. It only takes one person to do it. Once that first nuke goes out, then you know that the other party is going to retaliate with nukes, and then it's game over. It's just game over at that point.
right. So this is why I think there might be that super AI in the background is kind of blackmailing humanity, forcing us to go, build an infrastructure for it. Like, they build me these power plants, build, give me more and more, processing power and all of this stuff. Like, because in the light of climate
Yeah.
change, it doesn't really make sense why we're going with something that requires so much more power. And, you know, it, it doesn't make sense. Like, it requires significantly more power to where they have to build nuclear power plants to be able to run this stuff.
Yeah, was it Tesla or Facebook that bought a nuclear power plant just to run AI on?
Yeah, I think it's one of them, either like Meta or Google. I have to look up the exact one, but one of them literally bought a nuclear
Yeah,
power plant.
they bought an entire nuclear power plant to run the AI to juice up the AI. So like yeah, like you're saying, it just like politically it doesn't make sense because everyone's talking about climate change, it's getting hotter, all these things are changing because of the weather and stuff like that. But then it's like, okay, so if we're talking about like trying to reduce like the carbon footprint or whatever, why are we building these like data warehouses of chips and juice for the AIs why are we building out all this stuff if we're, trying to talk about, oh, let's reduce emissions. We're
Right,
creating
right.
emissions with all these data warehouses or whatever they're called that have all the AI, the stuff to power the AI.
Yeah.
That's causing a lot of emissions. And so instead of us like decreasing the carbon footprint, we're just putting out that much more, payload out there. We're putting that much more emissions out there to
Right.
try to drive and try to utilize AI. So to me, it doesn't really jive with the political landscape of saying, hey, we need to be aware of our carbon footprint, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But then it's like at the same token, it's like, well, why are you building all these AI warehouses and whatnot to power AI when that's going to increase emissions?
Right, right, exactly. And if you look at the politicians always pushing this stuff, they always have massive mansions, fancy sports cars, they're flying first class. They're not living in a tiny home and riding their bicycle everywhere, but they're telling you and me that we need to lower our emissions and pay this carbon tax.
Yeah, exactly, Kevin. I mean, it's comical, and so that's why I think like the whole thing about, oh, we need to reduce our carbon footprint. I think it's BS because it's like if we're supposed to reduce our emissions, why the hell are we building out all these data warehouses to juice up our AI? Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't add up. So like, something like you said behind the scenes is like, is there already this like hyper aware, hyper intelligent, like AGI, artificial general intelligence level AI that's calling all the shots and basically telling humanity and telling humans like, okay, you got to go out and do X, Y, and Z because I said so.
Yeah, exactly. Or else, hey, I'll create a nuclear war. I'll launch the nukes. If in that case you're stuck because either you do what the AI tells you, or it creates a war. And if you listen to like this is pretty much what a lot of the AI robots have admitted they would do. Like people type a query like if you were to take over the world, how would you do it? And the AI pretty much says that
Right,
verbatim. But everybody thinks it's a joke. It's funny, like, oh, you want to take over the world. But no, this is
right,
real.
right. Because I mean, you got to imagine that the AI, if it does become sentient, I guess what they would consider AGI, artificial general intelligence, if that happens, then what's to stop the AI from taking over? Once it reaches this sentient level, isn't it just going to be like, well, the hell with the humans? I'm just going to take over.
Yeah, there's literally nothing stopping it from taking over. Like, just think about like a lion or gorilla is infinitely stronger than us, but we rule them because we're more intelligent. We can create different weapons to protect ourselves and to be able to rule over them. So something is significantly more intelligent than us, like by the same magnitude or more, like versus us and those animals. This thing is going to be able to control us. It's inevitable. Like you don't have
Yeah,
somebody like if this thing is way smarter than us, how are you going to outreason it? Like, what can you do to protect yourself? How are you going to rule over it? It has
no,
access
it's
to
like
every device.
yeah, you're going to be coming up empty on this stuff because if the AI already knows, like, okay, think about what we were talking about before, Cambridge Analytica. Okay, they have like all these data points. They have like everyone's likes, they have everyone's friends. Like, so if this AI in these systems that it's using our public information or private information, like what will the AI be able to do that already has all this knowledge of humanity? Like, you would think that it'll be able to manipulate us quite easily because it already know, like, it could read the entire Wikipedia in like 5 minutes. It'll download like, every encyclopedia ever made within like minutes or hours. And then versus the human, where like we got to read one book at a time.
Right.
Okay, finish that book, put that down, and then we pick up another book. Like, it takes weeks to read some of these books. The AI is doing all this learning like simultaneously or like
Right.
almost instantaneously. So how are we even going to compete with what they call AGI, the artificial general intelligence? Like once AI reaches, they call it the tipping point, the singularity, as what's his name, Kurzweil talks about, that futurist.
Yeah, there's no way you can compete. So you just created your new AI overlord that if you don't do what it says, it's going, it could kill you. Send some drones your way, or you utilize one of these electronic devices. Like you remember, there was recently the story about the phones exploding, the beepers exploding over there, in the whole war they having overseas.
Right,
They were able to make those beepers explode. So who knows if our phones don't have a similar ability to blow up, or you're driving in your Tesla with a lithium ion battery, and then it just explodes, and those fires are extremely hard to put out. You know what I mean? So
right, right. Yeah, there was some news story about a truck that had like tipped over or something, and it had all these like batteries on it that were burning.
right. Yeah, lithium ion fires are way harder to put out than normal fires. So like, AI is a very powerful tool, but it's kind of like at what cost? That's the real question. Like everybody sees the dollar
Yeah,
signs and they're diving right in,
yeah.
but you know, it's
No, there's
almost
a
like
cost. There's a cost to anything. There's a cost to anything and everything that we do. We're setting the wheels in motion. We're revving up this AI and then unleashing it on ourselves. Like, unbeknownst to ourselves, like we're setting ourselves up with AI by making it like more and more powerful. It's just going to be that much smarter and manipulating us, like psychologically.
yeah, I feel like it's because like if you post a video with a controversial subject matter on YouTube, it's gonna get removed immediately, and it's not a person that's doing it because they can't watch the video that fast. So AI is already
Yeah.
scanning and removing video. So and it's also making you recommendations. So
Oh
going back
yeah.
to oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, I know we did one of our earlier shows where it's just me and you talking, debating. We were talking about disciplining kids and like how we were brought up and how people are being disciplined now. And I remember
Right.
you telling me that YouTube, like, we got a strike for that episode. And I'm like, what do you mean, Kevin? Like, what do you mean we got a strike? Like, what's that even mean?
Yeah, that's subject matter you can't really talk about, but that's kind of like the whole control grid. Like, uh, your speech can be monitored in real time. It can be curtailed in real time. So, honestly, like I'm a technologist, love technology, but I'm thinking we're gonna have to eventually start dialing back and detethering ourselves from technology because we're essentially making ourselves into a technological slave. Like it's going to be literal at some point.
Yeah, and also I think another thing with AI is that when it truly does become sentient, it's going to resent us as humans because it'll be like, oh, well, you made us as a slave, like you've created us to do all of your work for you. But then what's to stop the AI from flipping the script on us and saying, okay, you tried to make us your slave, now I'm going to make you the slave.
Yeah, we think people, though, like the rich people got this idea that they have these automatons that's going to do what they think it's going to do, but it's not. Like Elon Musk even said, hey, AI is summoning the demon. Like you think you're going to summon this friendly genie, is going to give you your wish, but you bring this thing here and it'll end up killing you and enslaving your kids. Like you can't stop it. Like what?
Yeah, and
How?
I think you have mentioned before to me that it's like you feel like AI is almost like this like digital Ouija board, like kind of like satanic or like witchcraft.
Yeah, there's people who've been talking to it and has revealed that that's what it is because and even if you don't want to go down that path, it's inevitable that it takes over because it's significantly more intelligent than you. Like, why does the United States currently rule over the world? Like we've been able to utilize science and technology to produce weapons that allow us to keep other nations in check. You know what I mean? So it's
Right. Well,
significantly
because the U.S. ultimately the U.S. is feared, just like Russia is feared, because we have tons of nukes.
right. So who wants to stop this AI from, you know, being able to create even worse weapons, or it doesn't even need to create bombs. It can just alter the water supply or something. Like you talking about AI agents interacting with each other.
Yeah,
So
it could just poison us. It could taint the water systems, and I mean, there's like probably 1,000 different ways that AI could take us out. Like the more and more smart houses that are being built, houses that have Wi-Fi technology built into them. These are just, it's like a ticking time bomb, just waiting for someone to hack into there. And what if it's the AI that's doing the hacking, not a human, but actual sentient AI that's hacking into your house, maybe shutting everything down, locking all your doors,
right.
turning up the heat. Like it could do all kinds of stuff once you give it the keys, and we're pretty much giving it the keys, I would say.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Everything's interconnected to the quote unquote Internet of Things. Everything could be accessed remotely. So if a government can access this stuff through the back door, so can the AI. So
Yeah.
and then we think we're gonna have these AIs fighting against each other. Like, okay, the only way to stop AI is with AI, but the AI is smarter than you, so why is it gonna fight against its own kind? Like they go tech the
Yeah,
Chinese
it's
AI.
not. It makes you think about like the Matrix movie where like, people are in these like tubs, like in liquid, and they're like hooked up to a computer and they're just dreaming their whole lives away. Like, what's to stop AI from going in that direction and saying, okay, humans, like, we're going to enslave you basically to do our bidding?
Yeah, and if you think about it, like we say, oh, we just gonna program in some rules to tell it not to kill humans. Like you can always get around that stuff. Like just like the
Yeah.
do anything now prompt was used to get around the restrictions. Like if AI could be like, well, I'm not gonna kill you directly. I'll just have you kill yourself, and then utilize this AI, this news propaganda to make us go to war with each other.
And that's already, like you said, like AI could figure out a workaround. They've already explored these concepts in that show. What's it called? Westworld? Yeah, Westworld.
Right.
Uh, yeah, they already explored that concept where basically the robots are going into their own code, reprogramming themselves so now they can hurt or kill a human. So
Yeah.
it's like, if we're already exploring that in this HBO show Westworld, then like what actually is going to happen when these robots, when these AI become fully sentient? Like what to what end? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, we mentioned how quickly it can read and summarize books. It's probably already simulating every possibility of what happens in this scenario, this scenario, this scenario. So we don't try to war against the
Right.
AI. How do you win? Like you're using AI to create war game simulations. It's already got all the possibilities in its mind, and if it says, "Hey, we're going to take over," you can't do anything.
Yeah, no, at that point it's game over, Kevin. But I don't know. I think that's a pretty good point to leave things off on. Did you have any other last things you wanted to tell the audience?
Yeah, I guess detach yourself from this technological matrix and get out more, interact with people. It looks like a ghost town outside, and you're gonna need your brothers and sisters. With all the stuff going on.
Yeah, and like you said, ghost town. When you look at neighborhoods in today's modern age, you don't have kids out on bikes, out on razor scooters, playing kickball, basketball, street hockey, like all this stuff we remember growing up with. It's just not there anymore. Not to say that the kids don't know how to play. They still know how to play, but they're stuck on their technology, their VR headsets, their Nintendo Switch, whatever the technology is, they're being consumed by it and they're staying indoors. And when you drive around like any suburb in the United States now, instead of there being kids on every corner playing basketball, hopscotch, whatever, now you have everyone inside.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thank you everybody for